Good morning. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Last month, we announced our initiative to connect every Iowan by improving access, adoption, and use of broadband technology. I'm happy to report this initiative has been greeted warmly by Iowans throughout the state, from small business owners to internet providers to public safety officials and beyond. And it has reached national attention. In fact, this week, our efforts will be highlighted at the annual conference of the Telecommunications Industry Association in Washington, D.C. The STEM Advisory Council's Broadband Committee continues to meet to develop legislative recommendations for the upcoming session. Today, we are pleased to announce another phase of the initiative to connect every Iowan, the Connected Communities Program. I'm confident the Connected Communities Program will help communities, large and small, throughout our state to improve access, adoption, and use of broadband technology. At this time, I'm pleased to turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds to tell you more about this initiative.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Governor Branstad. And as I mentioned when we announced our initiative to connect every Iowan, that connectivity is the great equalizer. Connectivity will allow us to compete with other states in economic development opportunities. And connectivity will allow us to preserve rural Iowa by opening up new markets and new possibilities for entrepreneurs throughout the state of Iowa. We encourage the service providers and the private companies to join us in this initiative, either at a statewide level or in their local communities. Your involvement is essential, and this program will uncover opportunities for your businesses to grow and expand into new markets. The Connected Communities Program will allow towns to realistically examine their capabilities and to measure and promote their current abilities and to set a course for improvement. We know this model works because it has already been piloted in a number of communities here in Iowa and in a dozen communities throughout this nation. Earlier this year, Indianola and Webster City achieved the Connected Community Certification, and today we're very happy to announce the third community which has received this honor, but more on that in just a minute. First, it's my pleasure to introduce Shelley Poplicki from Indianola to describe the process from their town's perspective.
Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and guests. Again, my name is Shelley Klotwijk. I am the Office Manager for Indianola Municipal Utilities, and I was also the Community Champion for the Indianola Committee. My role as Community Champion was to schedule the meetings, delegate the workflow amongst the committee members, initiate contact with others in the community that would have valuable information, and to input all that information into the application. Indianola is proud to be the first certified connected community in Iowa and the third in the nation. Our certification process was a collaborative effort from the beginning, engaging representatives from the city library, the school district, the Public Information Office, Indianola Municipal Utilities, and Warren County Economic Development Corporation. I would encourage communities wanting to complete the certification to assemble a group of diverse backgrounds, people with diverse backgrounds for the kickoff meeting to drive the planning process. This certification process reinforces the notion that broadband is critical in driving economic development and innovation, which is why Indianola's action plan includes projects to expand digital literacy, build awareness of the benefits of broadband, as well as improving the presence of local governments. One of our priorities is to spur new tech startups by integrating Indianola's municipal broadband network into local economic development efforts. In January, Emerge was launched, which has already become a successful business incubator for new enterprises, products, and services. This approach is an example of how a connected certification affords a community an avenue to discuss its success and opportunities as a recognized technology-advanced community. My advice to communities interested in the certification is to get in touch with Amy Coolers and the Connect Iowa team. They guided us through the process every step of the way. It was a valuable process and one in which we continue. I am happy now to turn it over to Mayor Janet Adams from Webster City.
Thank you very much, Corey. And I want to thank the governor and lieutenant governor for inviting us here today to talk about our ventures that we've been working with on this important initiative. We launched our planning effort back in May of 2012 and received our certification this past July. In our case, the heavy load was lifted by our Economic Development Director, who was David Toyer, with the assistance of libraries and other local agencies in our community. However, when the assessment was completed, the community really came together, and from that we developed what we are calling a working group. And that working group right now is looking at all the options and possibilities that we can continue to do is to meet what is the next level. How can we develop that next level of need in our community? One of the things that we have found out so far is that we need to have a greater access for the use of community credit cards for people to utilize their credit card when they want to pay some bills at City Hall. So it's kind of interesting the kinds of things we found, so I hope that you'll also do these kinds of things so you can see what you really have in your community. We knew that we had good broadband ability available in our community. We were not sure of what we had for speeds and that type of thing. So this helped us dig deeper and find out what do we have and what do we need to do. It appears to me that anyone who has a good economic development plan, that community will need to know what kind of technology is available, who's utilizing it, and what do we need to do next to keep us on top of the edge, as they say. So I would encourage every mayor and economic development director to look into this, to work with Amy and the Connect Iowa people to get this community, to get this initiative going in your area. Form a local team and kind of go from there. Best of all, from city mayor perspective, this is free. This is coming to us from a federal funded program. The state of Iowa does in kinds of things, so I hope everyone will kind of look into this and see what they can utilize in their community. With that, I'll turn it back over to the governor.
Well, thank you very much, Janet and Shelley and Amy, who was here for our press conference before. Thank you for Connect Iowa's continued work with this. And now, I'm pleased to announce the third connected community in the state of Iowa and only the 12th nationwide. This community was recently named the top e-city in Iowa by Google. It is home to a number of online startups such as Goodsmiths and Social Money. It is also home to the Microsoft Data Center. The third connected community in Iowa is West Des Moines. And we have a little recognition. Steve here, the mayor is here. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you, Governor Branstad and Governor Reynolds. I'm here joined by 4 of our city council members, and I'm pleased and proud that the city's been recognized as the e-city by Google and now the third Connect City by Connect Iowa. A couple of years ago, we actually convened a meeting, a public-private partnership in West Des Moines with our major employers. Microsoft included the hospital group, the banking group, the financial services sector, and asked them what their biggest impediment was to growing in West Des Moines and Iowa, and they all said technology. We need broadband and higher speed connectivity. And we reached out to the private sector and said, what can we do as a community to help incentivize you to make the investment that these businesses clearly are asking for so that they can grow here in Iowa? And they all said, your right-of-way ordinances are kind of complicated. So in credit to the council, in 6 weeks we changed the right-of-way ordinances, and to date, private investment in West Des Moines for broadband has exceeded $25 million and continues. So it shows us that the private sector is willing to make this investment if we as local government can help them succeed. And we're encouraged by the activity that we see in Iowa and our public-private partnership. A big initiative of ours now is going to be the Grand Technology Gateway. In West Des Moines, the DMAC Tech Center is on the eastern edge of that at about 60th Street and Grand. The Microsoft data center that the governor mentioned, which will be almost $1 billion investment by the time they get done, is at about 88th and Grand, and here in the near future we're going to expand 105th Street down to Grand. So we have branded that the Grand Technology Gateway, and we're going to do what we can as a community, working with our businesses and the private sector to expand the opportunities in that area in West Des Moines and encourage all of our businesses to grow. Also, our economic development plan acknowledged that our businesses were not going to continue to grow and succeed if we can't attract and retain young people in Iowa. And we've heard from the young people in Iowa that they want faster access. And so I think that's helped us as a community continue to grow. The young people enjoy being in West Des Moines, and that's a huge initiative of theirs too. So with that, I do want to thank Amy Coolers as well and the Connect Iowa team for helping our staff through this process, and we're excited to see it continue to grow.
Okay, we would open it for your questions. As you can see, in all of these communities, it's been an effective public-private partnership that's made this happen, and we want to continue to encourage and facilitate that. We thank Amy and Connect Iowa for the important role they're playing. Questions that you have for any of the folks up here on this subject?
I'm curious, what kind of uploads, download, just from a consumer standpoint, what kind of speed are you talking about? Or is that something we need to understand?
Steve, you want to respond to that?
Amy, I think we were hearing like 1 gigabyte is what we've been asking for.
You know, every community's needs are going to be a little bit different, and the communities that we're working with, depending on the technology that they have, you know, the speeds are going to differ. And really the goal of the Connected program is to help those communities. We have a lot of communities that have some really robust connectivity, and that's awesome for those residents. But we have a lot of communities that are still struggling. So for those communities, identifying what you do have, what your needs are, and then trying to build up those speed levels, even though you might not reach that certification that West Des Moines just got today. The end goal is doing that vision planning so you can get to those speed tiers that you may need. You may only need 5 megabytes at your home to do the streaming that you want as an individual, but when you tack on, 3 kids and, 14 different devices that we all have, that bandwidth goes way down. So more is better.
And is there a public aspect to that, like public, an element of that where there's dedicated, like guys like me that go into town and look for Wi-Fi?
Absolutely, that's a lot of things. I know that Webster City was looking as one of their priority projects. I don't know if you want to speak to this, Mayor, but to identify additional Wi-Fi hotspots within the community so you can have an umbrella over your community to really have that open access for your consumers that come in.
So this is something we would encourage other mayors to do in their communities, especially partnering with the economic development people and making sure your library and some of the other key players are also involved in this. And each of these communities that have received this certification, it's been a local initiative that's helped really initiate and get us started. Other questions? Well, we could open it for other questions as well then at this point. Other issues?
Lieutenant Governor, you wrote an editorial this morning. It was published in the Des Moines Register about Joni Ernst. Why are you endorsing her?
I tell you what, I'll be happy to answer those questions at the press conference upstairs.
So why do our colleagues at the Register get to hear your
They
remarks?
will be glad to answer that in just a few minutes. Okay.
Other questions?
Governor, you've talked in the past, I remember during the caucus cycle and then in regards to the Senate race about, you seem to kind of talk down the value of an endorsement. We'll talk to the lieutenant.
The only
governor
endorsement
in a
that
little
counts
bit.
is the one that takes place on election day. Now, I'm humble enough to recognize that endorsements by office holders are, but I do respect the lieutenant governor supporting her good friend. They serve together as county elected officials. They're from the same side of the state. And when Kim Reynolds was elected lieutenant governor, she encouraged Joni to run for that Senate seat. Joni's done a great job, so I certainly respect and understand why she would endorse and support her friend. But I'm also realistic enough to know that, the only endorsement that really counts is that of the voters on election day.
Is this your way of endorsing?
No, I'm respecting the lieutenant governor's right to have her own opinion and to express it, and certainly to somebody who is a very close friend for a long period of time. And I respect all the candidates that are running, and I respect the right of the primary voters to decide who they think the strongest and best candidate should be. Other questions?
Governor, tomorrow, a group called the Friedman Foundation is supposed to come out with a survey showing that 54% of Iowa voters would like to see a voucher program in the state, according to their methodology. In general, is voucher program something that you support, or something that you want to think about?
Well, I am familiar, this is the group, I think, named after Milton Friedman. And one of the things that we have in Iowa is a program called STO, Student Tuition Organization. And this is something that the Friedman Foundation has also supported. We increased the funding for that this year from $8.75 million to $12 million. This has made it possible for many students with financial need to be able to have the choice to go to Christian or Catholic or on other non-public schools. I think choice is a good thing in education, and we also have a modest tuition tax credit in Iowa, and I was instrumental in getting that started. So I believe in those approaches, and I think the approach that we've taken in Iowa, the SDL approach, and also we just made some improvements in our homeschooling law in the state to give more freedom to families in the choice of providing education to their children, including being able to have parents teach driver's ed.
Has the shutdown hurt Iowa's economy yet?
Not that we can tell at this point, but I think there is concern if it drags on for a long period of time, it could have an impact. I did see some news over the weekend that there's been various shutdowns over the last 30, 40 years, and actually the stock market, as it went up on Friday, has actually, in many of those instances, gone up. I think a lot of times the stock market will anticipate, and in fact went down somewhat before this. Obviously, we'd like to see it resolved. Unfortunately, they don't operate in Washington, D.C. on a balanced budget like we do. They don't make timely decisions. We can't help that, but we think the sooner that they can try to resolve the issues. I think it's bad that the president spends his time attacking the Republicans, and the Republicans spend their time attacking him. I think it'd be better if they would try to sit down and reach some kind of a reasonable compromise that would put us on a path to getting this country to a balanced budget. We can't continue to go the direction we're going. We've now reached a $17 trillion national debt, and this is going, so we need to make difficult decisions now as a nation to get us on the right track for growth and prosperity in the future.
What's your reaction, Governor, to the Iowa poll over the weekend that indicated Iowans are still not really feeling fully recovered from the economic downturn of the last 5 years?
Well, I'm not surprised, considering there's a lot of uneasiness and a lot of businesses that have been reluctant to invest in because of Obamacare and some of the uncertainties and some of the costs they see associated with that. Yet Iowa has done a lot better than other states. And if you look at our revenue for the first 3 months of this fiscal year, it continues to grow. We inherited a financial mess when we came here in the midst of this recession. I'm proud to say we've cut the size and cost of government. We're down 1,000 employees. We're spending less every year than we're taking in. Last year, I think we only spent 97% of revenue. And we've restored the money taken from the cash reserve and economic emergency account. So Iowa is in a healthy position. We're considered to be one of the best managed states. Our auditor, David Bout, was chosen to be the chair of the Government Accounting Standards Board for the whole nation because of the work that he did in getting our state fiscal house in order. And so I think we in Iowa are in a good position, but also you can see that same poll shows that 2/3 of Iowans think the country is going in the wrong direction. They think Iowa's going in the right direction, but the country's going in the wrong direction, and we're part of the country, so we are impacted by the bad things that are happening in our nation's capital.
Governor, as the chief executive who directs the state's public safety and law enforcement efforts, is your political party working counter to that effort by issuing an alert relating to traffic checkpoints?
I don't think a political party ought to be focusing on giving legal advice to people. I think that's a mistake.
What did you make of that alert? Did you support it? Did you not like it?
Well, first of all, I think people should make their own decisions, and I think political parties should spend their time supporting and helping candidates and raising money to support candidates to be successful in elections, as opposed to giving out legal advice.